Legacy Wave 2 in under 60 minutes, let's go. I think the easiest way to characterize Wave 2 of Legacy is, while continuing to gently tread out and see what they can get away with, it's also the wave that kind of kicks off remembering that Generations has an S in it. And by that I mean where Wave 1 kind of just touched on G1, G2 and a little bit of Prime. This one continues that and goes in a couple of directions I wasn't expected, but I'm glad to see. Let's kick off tonight's games with our first contestant, the ever lovely Legacy G1 Elita One in over 60 seconds, let's go. I'm not sure why I tried to kick that off like a game show host, but here we f***ing are. This is a clown car. This is the Homer. Sorry, sheep, you have to be positive. You have to say something positive. Alright. I'm positive this car is ugly. I'm not even saying it to be edgy. I just genuinely think this is the strangest vehicle mode we've seen in a couple of years. A couple of the ones in the last wave were pretty This one's just strange in every level. I kind of like it for what it is. It's kind of got a bit of a Japanese quality to it, you know, where they love the sort of boxy bubble car looking things, which this has features of both. It's not the most involved vehicle mode. I like the use of color, the pink, white, and red. Weapon storage is virtually non-existent, of course. And yeah, I think that's the easiest way to sum up. The first Elita that is her own mold ever, I think. I could be wrong. I'm also not really bothered. We've not had many Elitas, and we've had even less that have done that. Transformation's fairly straightforward. I kind of like how the legs work, where it all accordions out. I like how the backpacks give you some options for display if you wanted to just sort of rest on the back, or if you want her to have big old shoulder pylons. Unfortunately, that's pretty much about it. Now, yes, Elita One. What can we say about Optimus Prime's beloved? Her weapons are a bit uninspired. They're just a couple of big old chunks of clear blue plastic. You know, they're nothing too insightful. In terms of articulation and detailing, I actually really kind of like this Elita. Her head looks a bit big and a bit bulbous. It's not the jar-worthy model of the G1 character model. This one's, it's a car that's turned into a robot. It's got kibble. It's got features. It's, to be honest, if you said to me Elita, without my brain considering that the Revenge of the Fallen one exists, this is probably something I would like to see. Got some options, got some nice colours. The articulation's nice for what it is. Elita's solid. Is she great? No, probably not. I think she'll have her fans, definitely, especially with some of the later versions of the mold that came out. But do I think she is like a perfect fembot figure? No, I can't lie and say that. But she's good for what she is. I think that's the main thing, especially when you're working with a fembot. You've got two choices. Either you're going for a bit of wish fulfillment, or you're going for something that, you know, might look a bit too realistic in some ways. In this case, I'd say this one works quite well. Legacy Prime knockout in over 60 seconds, let's go. I know this one is a bit maligned. I know a lot of people tend to get a bit uppity about the Prime Legacy figures, but I genuinely think this is the first Prime Legacy figure that's like indisputably fucking good. So this thing's life cycle begins as a retool of Studio Series 86 Jazz, but honestly, what else would you do? You're not going to get a brand new from the ground up figure for whatever reason. I don't know what the reasoning is. They did it for animated, but they won't do it for Prime. But this one, just explain to me like I'm a 5-year-old why this doesn't work for Knockout. Look at this car. It just looks the part. Like, if I had to say the only things I don't like about it, it's the two mushroom pegs either side. That's it. The rest of this car is like really fucking nice. Genuinely a really nice car mode. I'll probably say of the SS86 Jazz mold, it's the best alt mode of the three. 4, however many have been made. I think it's incredibly disrespectful to not consider that. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not the Prime Knockout that you'd probably be expecting, but I'm not being funny. The original Prime Knockout is ass. I'd take this any day over it, because that thing just sucks. Whereas this one is lovely. He's great stuff. He's sleek and suave, to tell you the truth. Of course, there's Knockout in his robot mode. Where I would think it perfectly captures the look of a slightly G1ified Prime Knockout. I can see a lot of people also complaining, nah, that's not the one. The head sculpt, pretty good. The weapon is a lot better than the one that came with the original Deluxe. Like, this is the thing. As far as I'm concerned, this is a complete glow up. Yes, it's not the aesthetic, but as far as a toy of Knockout goes, right, you've got the red, which is a non-transforming PVC figure, and I don't even know if that's any good quality-wise. You've got the original, which is janky as all fuck, and you've got this one. I know which one I'm picking. The articulations all sound as anything. Yeah, there's missing a couple of joints that would really help it out. It's missing a couple of quality-of-life things that would probably make a bit of a difference with them, to be honest. There's a lot here to like, and I think a lot of people tend to get a bit aggressive on it for no f***ing reason. And I just think that's a bit shit, you know? He's good. He's probably the first Prime figure that I would genuinely say is just cool. I like it. It doesn't help that this was immediately followed by Dreadwing and Skyquake, but considering also that we've just got reveal of Breakdown coming in a 2-pack later in the year, I'm looking forward to getting these two together. I think it'll be good. Legacy Beast Wars Tarantulas in over 60 seconds, let's go. God, I f***ing hate this Tarantula mode. Not because it's particularly bad, it's just disgusting to f***ing look at, holy shit. Tarantulas is a Beast Wars incarnation, meaning he's our first Beast Wars figure of this new line. Like I said, he's f***ing rancid, but he's good for what he is. Yeah, the spider mode's good, probably better than Black Arachnians. It holds together well. Let's just get the f*** away from it, because I don't want much more to do with it. Colour scheme's nice, of course. The legs are well detailed, and the claws and the mandibles, or whatever the f*** you call them. I don't know. Basically, yeah, it's a very good spider mode, and I would like to move away from it. Was there really just one sort of default design for spiders back in the 90s? I'm not gonna judge. I'm just genuinely asking, because like this guy just fulfills the exact same obligations as Black Arachnia does. Spider legs are on the upper biceps. He's got big old claws. Everything goes on his back quite well. He's got fucking eyes around his. Watch out, lads. He'll eat you up. Of course, the design is very faithful to Beast Wars. The colour scheme is very nice. That head sculpt is just maniacally fucked in all the best ways it could be. His accessories are quite good. Also, I'd just like to point out that the saw blade goes quite well with our previous entry. It goes well with both of them, what can I say? There's nothing really bad that I can say about Tarantulas. Like, I really enjoy this for what it was. I'd say he's a peak Predacon figure, truth be told. I can see why they put him in Legacy, because if they put him in Kingdom, he'd put all the rest of them to shame. But you put him here, and he can kind of stand on his own 2 feet. Or 8, I guess. Now, Tarantulas is good shit. He's posable, he's expressive, he's disgusting, he's a great Predacon, he's a good toy. I really like him. He's a highlight of this wave, and so far he's a highlight of the line. But let's talk about something that isn't as much of a highlight. You know, just like Legacy G1 Wildrider in over 60 seconds, let's go. I really like this car. The weapon storage is but apart from that, this car mode is really nice. It's sleek, it's stylish, it's got a good combination with the, I think it's meant to be black, but I'm not being funny. Every time I see this thing, it just looks like a weird shade of bottle green. So I don't really know how to feel about it. If it was black and red, I'd be like, hell yeah, f it all over that. You know, like Runabout. Yeah, this is like an off black, near green kind of color. That minor discrepancy aside. And then, of course, as you get into the robot mode, you begin to realize one very particular thing about this figure. The only difference in engineering between this and Elita is the fact that the head has to flip out. Whereas on Elita, it's already out. I'm not even joking. I only just kind of realised it as I sat down to record and I was getting these guys into vehicle mode to discuss them. And yeah, it's basically the same figure as Elita in terms of engineering. Like, the legs do the same sort of thing, the arms do the same sort of thing. The front of the car does the exact same thing, wherein it goes on the back and the bits that have got the wheels separate from the rest of the bonnet. And it's very strange that I only just realised that. Anyway, so talking about the rest of Wildrider, he's got some odd engineering going on. He's got some bits that collide with each other just due to spacing issues, clearance issues, all that sort of things. He comes with 2 weapons, identical blasters. He's got some paint applications down his arms, got some paint applications, some nice blue highlights in the chest and some silver as well. The head sculpt is neatly freakish, which is what this kind of thing needs. Now granted, he's not perfect. There is some issues. Clearance isn't the best. You know, it's a less engineered Elita One, I guess, because it needs to be, because it forms the back of a f***ing leg. But you know, he's alright. He's not the worst of the Stunticons. That one's still to come. There's not really much more I can say about Wildrider.
Legacy Soundwave in over 60 seconds. Wait, that's not my intro. Wait, do I even have an intro? Legacy Soundwave is a flat repaint of Siege Soundwave. If you're familiar with that figure, you mostly know what you're getting here. But if you don't, the sculpted detail and the proportions are really good. Every surface of the figure is draped in Siege's trademark surface detailing, and Soundwave wears it really well, particularly on the shins and head, which while we're here has some really nice light piping. I really appreciate that they didn't go too hard on the sculpting on the chest window though. It helps me appreciate the sculpting behind it, or the details of any cassette you throw in there. In particular, I gotta mention the backpack. It just looks neat, like a big chunk of radio equipment. As much as I like the sculpt, the colours don't really do it for me. Every single shade is just so muted and desaturated, and the figure lacks any kind of liveliness because of it. Not to say that the painting is bad, what's there on the shins, arms and weapons is all very clean, it just looks a bit drab. He comes with a handful of accessories, his gun with the pop-out barrel, the shoulder cannon with a tilting handle, and a doohickey thing that may or may not be for Siege Megatron's back, but no cassettes unfortunately. I suppose it's alright, there is a pretty high pass count here. Articulation though, that's where this guy has it. This thing bends like f***ing Gumby. He's got good arms, good legs, a good head, and a really solid ab crunch, and everything is just nice and tight. He's a very dynamic lad. Transformation is definitely interesting. You don't do much and not a whole lot tabs in, but the way you change the orientation of the torso is pretty nice. And the alt mode is... I don't know. What the f*** are you? I genuinely do not know what this is supposed to be. Some kind of space shit, but then why does it have skis? Is they landing gear? If anything, it looks like a novelty Decepticon themed beard trimmer to me. At least it has some new details, like the sculpting on the front and the tiny cockpit, and you can still use the tape door. But these two fan modes work way better in my opinion, especially Lamppost. We love Lamppost. Overall, this is a good figure. It has a really great robot mode and an acceptable but kinda vehicle mode, but my main issue is just the boring choice of colours. And dude, couldn't you just yellowed on one leg?
Legacy G2 Jhiaxus in over 60 seconds, let's go. This thing's just the weirdest f***ing alt mode. When I did my short on this guy, I originally didn't really know how to transform him because, as I've said in the past, don't use instructions. So the wings were at the front and he had the little tail fins that are in fact just ankle swingers apparently out. And yeah, so it was a bit whatever. But now I've actually got this guy properly transformed. This is such a strange design, but the thing I have to appreciate about it is how unique it is. There's not many flying transformers that look like this. They usually look like they're trying to actually be an aerodynamic jet to some degree, whereas this totally impractical, but also wonderfully off the wall. I kind of like it. It's a shame that, I mean, I'm guessing this never happened, but it's a shame that the wings don't have a hinge so they can flap, because they look like they should. I'm not going to lie to you here. He comes to the front, he's got weapon storage in the form of a gun which connects under the nose cone. He's got a clear cockpit along with a G2 Decepticon symbol. He's got another gun mounted on the top, which apparently is rear mounted. Very inventive way of working around the arms, of just making them the sole bit under the fuselage. This is a very clean alt mode. I'm not even going to pretend it isn't, because I can't pretend it isn't. As far as jet formers go, even though this one's just a bit goofy, it's a winner. It's a very strong contender for really f***ing good. Okay, let's talk about the green in the room. And no, I'm not talking about your dad's. He should probably get that checked. No, I'm talking about how the fact of this figure, instead of yellowing like conventional figures did around this time, so his white pearlies turn green. You can see a little bit of it around like the crotch and ass. It's not as noticeable on mine, but it does exist and it is a known issue. Anyway, getting back to the rest of the figure. So, one thing I would like to say, this is the first Voyager to have articulated fingers. Like, straight up actual Voyager, not Voyager with a trailer and not a deluxe with some accessories. This is the first actual true Voyager figure to have articulated fingers. So, gotta give Jhiaxus a break on that one. That's pretty f***ing baller, yo. Remind me never to say that again. Talking about him in this mode, he's just perfectly in angry in every single way. Like, this is Jhiaxus' first original mold toy, because the only other toy he had in mainline before this was a retool of a Thrilling 30 Armada Starscream. And you'll see when we get to Wave 3, that would have been really f***ing lackluster if they just decided to pull that one again. So giving him his own figure just gives him this f***ing Terminator Space Marine energy, where he just looks pissed off. He just looks f***ing angry from birth, and he doesn't give a f***. The fact that he's got articulated fingers means you can get him into a pretty good pose with this red one, wherein he's actually holding it with both hands. Granted, it turns him a bit from mad scientist to alien mercenary, but, you know, I think he could probably fit that mold anyway if we ever get a Jhiaxus in a show. Like, he just looks quite good. I don't know what the general opinion on this guy is, because I saw he shelf-warmed for ages and he went cheap for a long time, and I don't know what common opinion is, but I really like him. I think he's cool. But yes, Jhiaxus, a boy that makes me proud. Legacy G1 Blitzwing in over 60 seconds, let's go. So, as I've said in the past, I was completely wrong about this guy. So, I kind of thought from the off that this was going to be a bit of a shitty figure. And I was surprised to be wrong. Yeah, his alt modes aren't the greatest thing in the world. F***ing sue me, neither am I. We'll just start, I guess, with the tank mode. And first of all, he's got these dumb as big Hulk hand things that are shit and I hate them. Also, the tank mode is just generally good. Of course, obviously, it was memed to death, and I've memed it to death. The front of the cockpit sticks out of the tank mode. Apparently, it's part of the design, but it's just not as pronounced. I don't really know. You can flip the tank around, so you've got the exhaust poking out the front. The tank has shortcomings. It's also a tank that you can spin 380 degrees on the turret. The barrel goes up and down. It's a good tank, I will admit it. I can't deny that. I can't deprive it of that. It is sound for what it does. But I think maybe we ought to try and shift gears a little bit, and maybe we could talk about the jet mode. Because with this jet mode, there is a lot to unpack. I think the most appropriate analogy for this jet mode is like finding out that you got a puppy for Christmas, except that they wrapped it up back in November and forgot to put air holes or feed it. And when you open the box, this is what you get. Like, what is this jet mode realistically? I know, they have to work within budgets and they have to do this and they have to do that. I just don't know what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do with this? This jet mode is definitely the one that took the hit. I think the most appropriate thing would be to just acknowledge that it exists. Acknowledge that from a top-down view, it looks pretty nice. And it kind of makes me wish that we would get a Seeker in these colours, because I think that could be alright. And I think from there, let's just move through to the robot mode. Let's not dwell on this one. Don't make eye contact, kids. It'll f***ing in your lunchbox. I would love to know if the robot mode is where they started with Legacy Blitzwing. Like, because it's just the mode that's the most succinct. It does everything the best. It looks the best. It holds together the best. I don't know. I'm just very curious. Like, was this how it was originally laid out? Did they look at the robot mode and say, yeah, alright, f it, this is really cool. Now, how the f do we work a jet and a tank into this? The articulation for the most part is really good. He suffers from legacy shoulders, as I've taken to calling them, which is they can't move back. There's a couple of times this has recurred as an issue. But, you know, there's a good range of motion otherwise. Wrist swivels, ball-jointed head. He's got all the good articulation you'd expect him to have. In terms of accessories, he comes with the f***ing Hulk hands again, as well as 2 rifles of some nondescript description, if they're like big pistols or rifles or what, and a sword with silver paint, so that's always pretty good. Love that. Big ups. Respect the man. Shut up, sheep. Yeah, I think Blitzwing can easily be described as maligned. At best, he's ambition overtaking practicality and realism. At worst, he's about 60 quid, I think. I mean, I bought mine for 30. That's probably why I'm a lot more forgiving towards him, because, you know, I bought him for a roughly Voyager price. And I know it's the parts count, it's the budget, it's allocated this and that and all that other shit, you know, to get a convincing triple change. But the trouble is we didn't get a convincing triple change, so I'm not going to be as forgiving about it. But that's just me. What do you guys think? Alright, that's us now at the end. Don't worry, you can remove your blindfold now. We've arrived at the nondescript location. I just need you to sign this quick ransom note. I found a finger off an old tramp and we're going to use that as part of the ransom. But enough about me and my spare time. What did you guys think of this wave? I generally think this wave is where they kind of began to take strides and where they began to get a bit of confidence about generations, where they began to say, okay, what else can we actually do? What can we actually expand upon? What can we get away with? What can we experiment with? And I think, yeah, this is the one where they sort of began to realise, well, what if we started looking at Beast Wars again? Well, what if we started looking at the comics? Well, what if we started looking at triple changes? Yeah, the triple changer was a mixed success. Sorry, old Blitzy boy. Like, I'd rather they try and make the effort to do something different and potentially f it up, but they've still made the effort. This is the thing I think needs to be said. My criticism doesn't come from a place of I just want to and piss and moan because they're not doing what I want them to. But there is times where it is worth saying, if I just let Blitzwing have the free pass in his vehicle modes, no, that's dog shit. Hold him to account. It's bad alt modes. And this is how I kind of feel about Legacy as a whole. It's sound. I like it. It's really good so far. This wave is kind of giving me more confidence, and I'm looking forward to the next wave. And oh my god, the next wave is f***ing point blank, doesn't it?